President Biden transferring 11 Gitmo Bay detainees with suspected al-Qaeda ties to Oman, including 2 alleged former bodyguards for UBL. All of the men have been held since shortly after the 9/11 attacks. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Donald Arias, his brother, was killed in the attack, and he's been to Gitmo 3 times to witness the proceedings. Almost all of them stopped short. He joins us now. Colonel, your feeling about this move?
I can't imagine any normal American being okay with this. I mean, these are dangerous people. These 11 detainees, they couldn't try them, but they were too dangerous to release. So now we're going to let them loose on the world. We're going to get them resettled. We're going to get them back on track with their lives. What, so they can return to the battlefield and come back to haunt us? We haven't heard the last of these guys. I'm certain they'll be back. What
did you notice when you were down there? Did you see repentant people realize the error of their ways when you were in the courtroom?
Absolutely not. You know, I was there in 2009 when, and it was a competency hearing for Ramzi bin al-Shibh, when KSM stood up in the courtroom and said, I did it. I said I did it. We did it for jihad, and I do it again. To me, I'm not a lawyer, but that's a courtroom confession. That wasn't good enough for anybody then. So they were not repentant, not in the least. I mean, these guys are steeped in this ideology and have been festering down there in Gitmo. And as far as I'm concerned, they can fester there forever.
Remember, Obama swapped them out. They were reformed. They were going to stay in the neighboring nation. Now they have their key officials in the new Taliban 2 Afghanistan story. I mean, so they're basically laughing in our face. They come back as heroes once they're out.
You're absolutely right. And again, you know, 9/11 families have been screwed so many times. We're just used to it at this point. It's just another day we're going to have to roll with, you know. And the emotional toll, Brian, people don't understand. You know, you lose a loved one and there is zero justice for them. Zero. I mean, if my brother were mugged on the streets of New York, this thing would have been long gone. Well, maybe not with Alvin Bragg, but this thing would have been long adjudicated. And if you look back at, like, you know, my brother was killed in 2001 along with thousands of others. My mother died in 2015, never seeing justice for her son. My father passed in 2019, never seeing justice. My sister, who accompanied me to Gitmo 3 times, died in 2021 during the pandemic. And I'm getting ready to turn 68 here. I'm wondering if I'm going to live long enough to see this, and I don't think I will. I think these guys are just, whoever's calling the shots, and we all know it's not Biden, it's whoever his handlers are, these leftist activists that are pulling the strings of this government, and these legal soldiers of fortune that came out of leftist NGOs that were suing the government are now, you know, full-time employees at the DOJ. This is where all this crap comes from. And, you know, we objects of pity, we 9/11 family members are just not smart enough to understand why they're doing it.
No, you're not smart enough. You're smart enough to understand this is pure politics and someone trying to outdo perhaps President Obama, who said he wasn't going to do that, wasn't able to do this at Gitmo. So 11 detainees go to Oman, but the worst could be yet to come. According to the Wall Street Journal, this Mohammed Rahim, a bodyguard of bin Laden, who as late as 2016, the last time we heard of him, has reaffirmed his radical ways, and the al-Qaeda doctrine could be swapped for 3 Americans that we left behind in Kabul, in Afghanistan. I feel for the families. Michael McCall was briefed on this, says it's a bad deal. Your thoughts about this? Bin Laden's bodyguard.
It's crazy. It's craziness. All we're doing is encouraging more kidnapping and more thugs out there to commit terrorism. You know, when they know they can get away with it, spend a few years at Gitmo, come home a hero, why not do it again? These guys don't mind blowing themselves up. You think they're going to mind spending a few years in the clink? I don't think so. I mean, the whole thing's outrageous. These people are war criminals. They're illegal enemy combatants in violations of the law of war, and they should have been tried in a wartime tribunal that we set up at Gitmo. And if you look back and say, what do we got in history? Look at these Nazi war crimes that we did in Nuremberg. Nuremberg was, you know, over in 10 months. These guys were tried, adjudicated, done. 10 months. Next. Why are we still mucking around with these guys?
Well, I'm sorry about all the losses in your family as you wait for justice, but I know your brother would be proud that you're still fighting for him. Lieutenant Colonel Donald Arias, thanks so much.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me.
And we'll track all this as it unfolds.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.